Rangers absolutely collapsed in their own backyard. After the fastest ever Champions League hat-trick from Mo Salah, Liverpool ran out 7-1 winnouts. I mean, I don't know where you start in that this morning. I heard you chatting through in the office, and I think you're bang on the money. I mean, you're almost saying, could we have expected maybe not 7-1, but something similar?
Well, you know, you can take this over to Ajax, can't you? You can say, how do you feel like getting spanked 6-1 by Napoli in your back garden when you are one of the perceived elite teams of Europe? Look, it was men against boys in the second half, and it was almost as if, I mean, I don't know how many times I've watched Liverpool warm up before the second half, but I saw an urgency in their little warm-up routine before the second half, which was basically, let's get ourselves together now. And it basically felt in the second half, it was like, that'll do, that's enough. And they didn't give Rangers a chance to be awful. They gave Rangers no chance whatsoever, because if you look at the comparisons, and I'm not giving Gianni Van Bronckhorst a pass, I'm looking at the reality of the situation. Liverpool have probably got the best part of £500 million, if not more, with the talent on that pitch. Liverpool's turnover is £500 million. Rangers is probably 60, 70, 80 million quid at the very tops, and maybe a little bit more bolstered because of this Champions League.
No, but hang on a second, Simon. They also got millions in from the sale of Calvin Bassey, from Joe Aribo, from Nathan Patterson.
8 million for Joe Aribo. Come on.
Well, I tell you what,
that buys one of Liverpool's fullbacks if they're on a lucky day when they manage to get Andy Robertson from Hull or wherever they signed him from.
23 million for Calvin Bassey.
Sure, but we're still talking
16 for Patterson. But hang on, 50 odd million gathered from those sales.
And where's it been spent? Has it not been spent?
Well, plus about 25 million quid for qualifying for the group stages of the Champions League.
So
where's the evidence of player recruitment?
And that's fine. And we can argue that toss and talk about the dynamics, how much money they've got in, how much money they've lost recently, how much money they should have spent, and so on and so forth. We can look at the fact that the Scottish League, Liverpool gets £150 million a year on their own. The entire Scottish leagues get 40 million quid. Liverpool play 3 games in the Premier League to achieve what the entire Scottish League get. It's preposterous comparison.
There's a disparity of wealth all over the Champions League.
I felt sorry for Rangers because their fans. I felt sorry for their fans. I felt sorry for the players because they were outclassed, outthought, outpowered, outplayed, out everything, out-resourced. And what do you expect? Liverpool are infinitely better side. I don't think Liverpool should be bouncing out of that stadium with the feeling of a feel-good factor about what they're going to get facing them on Saturday or Sunday when they play Man City. Rangers are not in that bracket.
So hang on, I mean, when you ask the question, how embarrassed should Scottish football really be by results like this, are you saying, well, not much really?
No, I don't think so, and no more embarrassed.
Not much?
Well, okay, well, why don't you find out the Dutch teams and ask how embarrassed Ajax were by getting 6-1? It happens. Teams get beat. It's ultimately the reality of the gap between
those 7.
Those that have and those that don't. Okay, so it's okay to be beaten by 6. Ajax are just as influential and a bigger brand, and they've received a boatload of money, haven't they? Because they've been selling all their players to British football clubs during the summer. They still got spanked by what people perceived at the beginning of the season was a slightly unfashionable Napoli. It happens. I don't want to catastrophise it for Rangers fans. It's bad enough as it was for them to have to walk out the stadium in the 75th minute. Watch it. Once the fourth goal goes in. By the way, I don't think their goalkeeper helped him out too much. You know, all he did was pick the ball out of the back of the net. But the bottom line is that Liverpool are an infinitely better side. Look what they can bring off the bench.
Hang on a second. I'm looking at message after message here. Simon, good morning. You weren't saying this after the first leg, after they played them the first time.
I told you that Rangers.
You weren't saying this after 2-0 defeat.
I told you it was a 2-0 defeat. But what we're doing is we're catastrophising it and we're turning it into a crisis. It is a moment in time. It is a reflection of the reality of the power of the leagues.
7-1's a catastrophic result.
It's not a great result. It's an appalling result for them on paper. But the bottom line is the most important thing for Rangers, manna from heaven, look at it really. You never expected to be in the Champions League this season. You got fortunate because you got into a final as a result of a very compelling run in the Europa Cup to get yourself into a Champions League spot, which gave you the benefit of matching the Celtic income that they were getting from qualifying for the Champions League with the new regulations that allowed the winners of the group to go straight into the Champions League
both
proper.
Rangers are the talk of European football this morning, and not in the way that they would like to be.
Why? But Ajax weren't.
They're a virtual laughingstock this morning. In fact, Van Bronckhorst virtually said that last night.
The performance we had, the overall performance, the result is not the way we want to represent this club. So that's no excuses for this performance today from no one, and we need to process that. Part of my job, part of the player's job too, when you perform like this, and then I don't mean the whole 90 minutes, but the last 25 minutes, you will get criticism, and we have to take it on the chin. And that's what we have to do. The difference in the way we played, the level we reached in a game, the difference is too big. The difference cannot be so big.
The problem here, Simon, is it's not the first time they've capitulated. And that's what Van Bronckhorst has got to look at very closely. You could say they capitulated to Celtic. You could say they capitulated to Ajax. Yeah. I mean, there have been other occasions that they've folded like a deck of cards. Now, questions will be asked about Van Bronckhorst.
Yeah.
So I'll ask it.
Should have changed it during the game.
Is he the man, though, longer term?
Well, look, I mean, there were reservations about him after they got their backsides handed to them when Celtic beat them 3-0 earlier on, at the middle of last season, towards the sort of January time of last year, of the beginning. You know what I'm talking about.
Is this sequence, is it a sackable offence?
If you think that you can go into Europe and to the Champions League and compete with sides like Liverpool, then you're away with yourself and you're away with the birds. If you can take something from a 7-1 defeat, then you're also mad. But I don't think there should be this bloodletting any more than I suspect there was bloodletting when Ajax got beat 6-1 at home by Napoli. It's in the same space. It's the same indignation. It's a moment in time. Van Bronckhorst has questions to be asked of him because that game was running away from Rangers and he should have changed it.
But we've seen it before. They capitulated to Celtic.
Bournemouth got beat 9-0 by Liverpool. 9-0. And they've bounced back. Crystal Palace in 1990 got beat 9-0 by Liverpool at Anfield and beat them in the FA Cup semi-final 7 months later. Leicester got beat Southampton 9-0 and Southampton came back and beat Leicester in a corresponding fixture 3 months later. It's a moment in time. And Van Bronckhorst needs to ride the wave. He needs to prove that when the going gets tough, he can make an adjustment. They were going to get beat by Liverpool. Everybody knows they were going to get beat by Liverpool. The scale of it was because once it started to get away from Rangers, their heads dropped, the motivation on the pitch changed, and the manager needed to intervene and say, 4-1, that'll do. We need to stop this because this could get to 10. Right? But he didn't. He allowed it to happen in front of him.
Well,
and that's the question you need to ask.
No doubt he wanted to, but he couldn't.
But he didn't. He didn't make particularly any material changes. He brought on a 37-year-old.
Well, what do you suggest, though?
Well, I don't know. He's the one with the bench. He's the one that's got the task in front of him. Don't tell me what I suggest. The manager himself should have made the choices.
He could only do with the resources and the players he's got available. That's my point.
Make it more difficult.
Why didn't they reinforce after Bassey, Aribo, Patterson,
that's not
even Balogun all went?
Well, ask Rangers.
Ross Wilson, chief executive, needs to be asked that.
Of the chief executive of Rangers.
Yeah.
Why with all this huge amounts of money that you've got, which by the way isn't huge, have you not invested in a team that has just been beaten? I said from the outset, I felt it was unlikely that Rangers would get a point out of this Champions League. And so it's proving currently, and I hope that they do. But this bloodletting needs to be focused and nuanced and categorised properly, rather than just make it a terrible day for Scottish. What was a great day for Scottish football was two of the biggest teams in Europe once upon a time are back in the Champions League, and the finances that flow through from that should benefit Rangers in the long term. You had a moment last night. It was a poor moment. It was
just
a second
moment
half.
In time. That's what you're putting it down to.
45 minutes.
It was a blip. It was a blip.
No, it's not a blip. It's an appalling result. But 45 minutes. They went at half time, and everyone was raving. Alan McCoist was doing the dance in the commentary room. So was Kenny Miller. They were all full of themselves, and Liverpool went, right, that'll do. And that's what they're capable of doing to anybody.
Well, Simon's saying it's just a moment in time. Is it? I mean, how embarrassed should Scottish football really be by a 7-1 defeat in the biggest tournament of the lot in terms of clubs around Europe, the Champions League? If you want, give us a call, 03717 223344 81089.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.